joined Spurs to the great Bill Nicholson, and he said to me when I walked in, Steve, if you play quick, easy and accurate, you'll have a career.
Good cross there by Evans, clipped nicely there, and Perryman following it in. Chivers with a 1-2, Perryman! Yes! Beautifully played by Spurs. Goal will do wonders for this game now. As Knowles takes another corner for Tottenham, it's a deeper one this time towards Mike England. Perryman in there!
He's the best skipper I've played under. But a great example for me as a young player coming in, you know, and I still, if I see him now, I still call him Skip. And that's the respect I've got for him, you know, and all the players out here.
Dane trying to get round Cooper and does so. Oh yes! Perryman!
Knowles' cross, Gilzean's header, Perryman!
The reason he won the award that year was not because of his individual flair, it was because of his team play. He motivated that side that won back-to-back FA Cup finals.
Tottenham's ninth corner. Perryman shot! He's done it again!
I'm a leader, I'm a captain, I'm a driver. That's what I do. I elevate special talents like Glenn, like Ozzy, like Ricky, like Mickey Hazard. I elevate them up to do their job.
I think the big thing about Steve Perryman was that he was a terrific manager. So anything that I wanted doing on the field, he would be the one that carried it on there for me.
Another 3 goals left Aussie's team on the wrong end of a 4-1 thrashing. It was the worst of possible starts.
The next minute, the very next minute, is the most important one.
Way! Hello Spurs fans, it's Paul Hotspur Hippie here, the only psychedelic soccer show on the internet. And as usual, I'm going to quickly acknowledge the traditional owners of the land from where I'm streaming today, the Wallumeteggle people of the Darug Nation. Ingani Warramee, have we got a treat for you? Welcome to mobs and people all over Australia and all over the world. And recognise that sovereignty wasn't ceded, always was and always that will be Aboriginal land. And we've got a treat here because when Steve goes up to lift the FA Cup, we'll be there, we'll be there. How are you, Steve? Steve Perryman.
We were there.
Twice.
We were there 7 times in 18 months.
Wow, man.
What a run of games at Wembley. A lot of really good players. Liverpool patch. We played there 7 times. 2 charity shields and a League Cup final that unfortunately we lost to Liverpool. But yeah, what a run of games.
So how are you, Steve? How's your family? Have you been up to much?
They're all fine. They're all well. Although my wife's got a bit of a bad back, but we've been been visiting specialists for the last couple of weeks, having injections. And since I spoke to you last, we have regular visits to Portugal for a bit of sunshine, normally out of holiday season in England. And Portugal is about 21, 2, 3, which is great, not too hot. So I should be playing golf when I'm in Portugal, but I don't play golf, but just lay back and relax. The other relaxation was we just come back from northern Norway, where my friend has had a cabin built.
Wow.
You fly into Tromsø, which is right up in the north, and it was like going back to nature. We were free and fresh air and fresh sun for a week. And I have to say, the most we did was just look at the scenery, the fjord, and water and boats, and ate. We ate a lot of fish, and but truly fantastic. And two of the other visits were to the Channel Isles, Jersey, with a group of Spurs legends. They were all going to play golf on Jersey and raise money for a charity, and also celebrate the 40th anniversary of the UEFA Cup win, 1984.
Wow,
Also,
40 years, man.
The 30th year of the Jersey Spurs forming. So that was nice. Couple of 2 or 3 days there and a couple of great nights. And then I personally took Keith Birkinshaw to Guernsey, the sort of sister island to Jersey. And we celebrated ourselves about the UEFA Cup win, because obviously Keith really put that team together. And when you think of how many homegrown players they were competing on that famous night when we beat Anderlecht on penalties, the only two to survive from the relegation, the promotion season, was myself and Glenn. And of course, against Anderlecht, I was suspended. Glenn was injured. So Keith Birkinshaw had his fingerprints on every one of those players that performed that night, and of course in the tournament itself. So that was his last game for Tottenham. We all know that story. So I took him back to Guernsey. We had a great 5 days together, and ended up with a dinner there. And Keith was great. Told it like it is, as he does, and it's a bit of old school management, and but it was just great. So he's 89 years of age. He's going to celebrate his 90th. A few of us have been invited to that in June next year, and yeah, but he's in fine fettle. He's fit. Yes, he uses a walking stick, but he's fine. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
saw the picture you posted of Keith's 89th birthday, and I thought, wow, man, there's him, and I had Paul Trevelyan on not so long ago, who's just turned 90, and I'm thinking, I mean, that's a long way ahead of me, but I want to be like them. They're great outlook.
Yeah. Well, I think Keith doesn't worry about too much. I think maybe that's a bit of a clue. He just gets on with it. And I think I've used the term before, that generation will get on with it generation. And, I've heard you just mention it, the words I said. The next minute is the most important minute in a football match. And you know what? The next situation is it's the only thing you should worry about, because it's gone. The past is gone. Get on with it and make the best of it. And I think that leads to Keith being of clear mind, and that's what he is.
Okay, I'm just getting a notice from Zoom that because I'm using the free one, I've got 10 minutes left, so I'll send you another link when this runs out, Steve. This is technology, man. So I saw that picture, which blew my mind, actually, because it was just like too much Spurs in one place. With it was Ange Postecoglou, Keith Birkinshaw, Maxi Miller, and yourself. I mean, I thought that it was a fake photo when I first saw it. How did that meeting come about? When was it? How was it?
Well, there was actually about 12 of us there. That picture that you saw, maybe one I sent you, was just a sort of framed picture.
Oh,
And so we all got invited to celebrate the 84 UEFA Cup win. Got invited to the training ground, and this was held in the lodge. You're not allowed to call it a hotel, but it is. It's called the Lodge, and we had a lovely lunch there. We were hosted by Donna Cullen, and she's one of the main directors at Spurs. And thankfully, Ange had finished his session and came over to us to pay respect. And what I really liked was Mark Falco held his hand out and said, "Hello, Ange, I'm Mark Falco." And he said, "I know who you are. I know who you are." And he spoke to us probably for about 3 or 4 minutes, a little speech. And he told the story because they'd just been beaten 4, I think, at Newcastle.
Ooh.
This was a few days later. And he said, the training's been very keen and very sharp, as you would expect after a 4-0 drubbing. He said, and the world and his wife has told me how we should defend. And you know what I've told them? I've told them next time we'll score 5.
Yes, that's the way you do it, man. That's it. That's what I've been telling people.
So he's got a purpose and he's got a plan. And anyone that says he hasn't got a plan B and all this nonsense. And so I'm sure we was all disappointed after Leicester. Having said that, we saw the signs. We saw the signs in that first half. Wow, did we? And then the boys come back with a bang after a poor second half against Leicester, against Everton, and rightly won the game. And we're all feeling a bit brighter about ourselves. And guess what? A clean sheet. A clean sheet. Sonny is back on the goal scoring one. The new player, the left winger, looked sharp and aggressive with his running. And when you think about it, anything good that happens in a football match, there's something dynamic about it. The winger takes the fullback on, and he's gone. And Van der Ven steams through the middle of their team, and then lays the perfect ball for Son to score. But it's done with tempo, not out of control, but it's dynamic. Any good play is dynamic. And I think that's what Ange is looking for from his players. And if it's possibly one of the reasons I haven't spoke to Ange privately about anything, actually. But you wonder why the Argentinian player, you would know his name more than me, the midfield player that doesn't seem to get a game. But that might be the reason why he doesn't get a game, because he's not dynamic enough.
Right.
And for instance, Basuma absolutely mugged himself with his antics. And do you know what? He's very brave, very, very brave man if he thinks he can sort of mess about with Ange. I've never sampled it, but I wouldn't like to either. And therefore, I think Ange told him a few home truths. And then all of a sudden, he tightened his game up. Got left out, tightened his game up. His passing to people was sharper, was stronger. So much so a couple of times I thought, oh, you've overdone it. Oh, no, he's got it. The receiver's got it. And I bet you he was thinking, what can I do to make this up? I've got to be good. I've got to be strong. I've got to be purposeful. I've got to pass the ball right. I've not got to be sloppy, because there was a bit of that creeping into his game. And then of these positive thoughts, I bet you he thought, and actually to score would really do it for me, would get me back on the level surface. And guess what? He scored. And it goes to prove to me, which I've always thought, is that the mind leads the body. His mind was preparing to play right, to make it up to the supporters, to make it up to Ange, to, get himself back in the good books with the other players. And guess what? He delivered. That might have been, that one game off, might have been the best thing that could happen to his career. Because actually, before he come to us, when he did come to us, I was delighted.
Yep.
Because purposeful, striding through the opponents, striding through challenges. And then he came to us, and all he did was get the ball and pass it straight back. Bump, bump. And that was probably some Conte coaching. But it took away the reason why we bought him. And thankfully, hopefully, he's going to be back to his best again.
Excellent.
Van der Ven.
Oh, it's incredible, wasn't it?
How this player is progressing. He's got a pass in him. He's got a run in him. He's got a turn and a run in him. He's got a notice where anything done. I learned it. No one taught me this. I learned this when I played at the back in the second division days. That if you're purposeful with a ball and you run between two players, especially two frontmen, who are really sort of normally lazy when it comes to trying to win the ball back, they both sort of half go, but leave it to the other one, and you just get through them. And do you remember one of the best goals we've seen at White Hart Lane? Son's goal against Burnley.
Oh, wow.
Just watch it again with my words, what I've just said. Run between two players.
I think
when you run between two players, there's doubt from them both. And they hoping that the other one does something about it. But actually, no one does anything about it. And that's why the gap opens up. But Van der Ven, I'm excited about this kid. No, he's not a kid. No, bad word. I'm fed up with reading about kids. They're young players.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about his development, which is wonderful. And I've seen criticisms of the Man United manager being Dutch. Why didn't he know about this fella and sign him? And it does make you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think Glenn Hoddle's last goal at White Hart Lane was a bit like that as well. He just saw the players, there was a couple of players and they didn't know, and then he ran in front of the shelf, and it's but just staying with the present a little bit. I had a question from a view of P.S. Barrow. If there was a prime Steve Perryman with your experience now, where do you think you would like to fit into Tottenham as we play now? Do you think there'd be a place for you somewhere? I mean, obviously he's captain, but
difficult that. My favourite season was the second division season.
Really?
When I played alongside a centre half, so not as a sweeper, but I did sort of sweep behind Keith Osgood. And I did that because I'm defensively minded, made good defensive decisions. Danger, bigger danger. Danger left, danger right, bigger danger left. Go and act upon it. And but also to bring the ball out and start the playoff. And that's what I really loved doing. So I'd like to play in a back three in the middle of the two centre backs we got now, which would be a bit harsh on others. I know I don't suggest I could knock someone out of that team.
Oh, well, so we've got 12 players.
But then of course I'd be captain, because I actually have a few doubts about Son's captaincy. Nice man, whatever, but it's, as I've described before, it's not a popularity contest. It's not about being liked, it's about being respected. And of course, it's the relationship that the captain has with the manager, and therefore the manager has to pick the captain. Therefore, Ange has picked his captain, and who am I to criticize it? But I just have doubts that he's not a pitch captain. I think he could be a dressing room one, for harmony and camaraderie and all the bit. But can he change the flow of the game? Can he get at players that need getting at? For instance, I saw Werner against Leicester, and I thought he needed direction from the pitch, and who was going to give it to him? Son himself got lost in that second half. So was he giving himself a talking to at Leicester? Because sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to, wait, come on, liven yourself up. So yeah, that's what I would want to, a bit easier on the legs than being in the jungle of midfield, where you're running about like a blue-ass fly. But from the starting the game off, and I think it's more relative today because teams back off you, whereas in our day they still come for you in ones and twos, but not very organised. Now teams just tend to back off to the halfway line. Well, go on then, are you going to keep passing square and square and square again? We know that don't work. Someone has to take the initiative, and therefore a midfield player playing at the back who's used to being in possession of the ball is perfect, which is why Dyer looked to be such the right choice for playing at the back, but he actually didn't do it. He didn't bring the ball out. So anyway, that's the answer to my
right.
To
Well, another guy like Graham Roberts, he made a nice little run in the '82 final.
He could run it in there. He had the balls and the spirit to run it in there. And of course, there's going to be a time when you get caught in possession. I mean, goalkeepers are getting caught in possession now, as we saw, and on a couple of occasions over the weekend, or in the first couple of games. So it's always possible to get caught out with it, and it's particularly dangerous if it's a backline player. But like I said, nobody taught me how to do it. I just worked it out for myself, how best to do it. And I'd be rather good at teaching people to do that as well.
So as far as old school managers, I mean, you hear any, player of that era talk about, managers like, like Bill Nick or Brian Clough or Bill Shankly. I mean, these were hard, like granite-like men. Very rarely would give a player praise, would be quite hard when it came to maybe negotiating a contract. I heard Pat Jennings on BBC Radio the other day saying when he signed from Watford, and Bill said to him, "What do you mean you're on 35 quid at Watford? I can find out, So the stories seem to be a lot about, stick instead of carrot. But at the same time, these managers, the players were just played out of their skins, and these managers created great teams. How was it as a player? What was it about Bill Nick that brought all of that out of you and the other guys in the team?
The manager of the time set the tone. Can't tell you about other teams because I only know about Tottenham. Thankfully, they set the tone of everything. They led the club. If you lead a club with a history of Tottenham Hotspur, and by the way, Bill Nick created a lot of that history himself with the double team and the Cup Winners' Cup win, etc. Then you had you had to have total respect. You were some sort of mug if you didn't respect this man giving you instructions from all his wealth of experience. And the fact that he was leading you, guiding you, setting the tone for you and others was actually enough, because that meant he trusted you. The fact you were in his squad, he trusted you. So you'd have to be really, really stupid to let him down. So he was hard, he was harsh. And I remember Alan Mallory being a captain, standing up to him one day at the end of a game when he was being harsh on Martin Chivers. And he said, Bill, why don't you give him a bit of praise? Why don't you stop just getting at him? Give him a bit of praise. He's trying. Bill is trying. Is he? Will you leave that to me, will you? and it wasn't disrespecting Mullers, but what he's saying is, I'm the captain and that player's not doing what I want. And the only way I'm going to get it out of him is telling him, keep telling him and practicing it. And then he can deliver what I want. You know, again, I might have told you this before, but I think there was 2 games where he didn't play, Chiv. And you know what his instruction was? Go to watch West Ham play and watch every single minute that Jeff Hurst plays. Now, that is very harsh. That is very harsh. Having said that, Jeff Hurst scored 3 in the World Cup final. So, yeah. So take that as read. So this was probably 68. Yeah, 68 before I got in the team. So, and that went round the training ground like wildfire. He's not picking Chiv, and he's sending him to watch Jeff Hurst. So I was telling someone the other day, and I thought this would be a good one for you to hear. So I played my 3rd game at Liverpool away. Tommy Lawrence in goal, Ron Yates, Tommy Smith, Lawler, Callaghan, Thompson. Very, very good team. Haven't quite taken off yet, but we're about to. But we had Jimmy Greaves and Mike England and Pat Jennings and Cyril Knowles, Gilly, etc. And I'm 17. It's my 3rd game. And I play, and I got to tell you, I played and I competed for my life. There was something about that atmosphere. Well, I would have done anyway if there had been 10 people there. But when it's the cops fall and they're baying for your blood and they want you to fall over. They want you to foul. Guess what? That's when you stand up. So 17, and at the end of the game, before managers had to parade in front of the cameras, who did they parade off? They went and found each other and talked about football and the game itself, etc. And Bill Shankly says to Bill Nicholson, "Who's your tiger?" Now, what a lovely compliment that is for 17-year-old Steve Perryman playing in midfield, if I'd have been told.
Oh, no. Well, I suppose you could have got carried away with the theories hearing something like that, maybe.
That's why they didn't praise you. So, you know when I found that out, that Bill Shankly had said that about me? The next season, when we went to play at Liverpool away, by this time they'd signed Kevin Keegan from Scunthorpe. I think they beat us this time. The first game was 0-0. Anyway, the second one, with Kevin Keegan in the team, I think they beat us. And Bill Shankly says to Bill Nicholson, when they didn't have to go in front of the cameras, "Bill, my tiger's better than your tiger."
Oh, no way, man.
Just imagine if I'd have been told that when it happened, say on the way home in the train, hey, Steve, Bill Shankly liked you. Again, to the wrong person, might have got carried away with it. I personally don't think I would have done, because I actually don't take praise that easily. So, and yet they would also write. Someone sent me an interview that Eddie Bailey gave, and Eddie Bailey was asked a question about this young player that's got in the team. How's he doing? Eddie Bailey said in print, but would never say this to me personally, Steve Perryman's got a chance of being a player because his heart is much bigger than his head. So they're just giving you the messages, albeit not direct to you. They come at you another angle at a different timing. They were masters at keeping your eyes on the ball, keeping your head in shape, just keeping you under control. And remember, there was no agents then. There was no people blowing smoke up your backside. My family never did it. I was never told by anyone at any age, under 10s, under 11, under 50, whatever. I was never told you're the best player in the team. You're a fantastic player. I was never actually told I was shit either. It was very level from my brother. My parents didn't really have an opinion. The schoolmasters, the young coaches at Tottenham, it was all in control. And I think that gave me a long career.
A very long career. Wow.
Keep under your hat. Keep a lid on it.
So apart from Bill, were there any? This is a question from Elvis G. Were there any players at the time when you were starting out that really influenced you? Who were your biggest influences as players at that time?
Hi, Elvis. Yeah, just not that he ever really spoke to me, but Dave Mackay is influence on the training ground at Cheshunt or in the White Hart Lane was just immense. He only had to look at you in a way, and you thought, oh, does he like me? Is he going to say something to me? But just lifted you with just the look. And it weren't a kindly look by any means. So Dave Mackay, proper man, proper captain. And then I think I've said this before that Gilzine was my man in later years when I got in the team and room with him. He led me. He led me to enjoy the game, to know that there's going to be some tough times, but enjoy yourself, but at the right time. But the other one was Alan Mullery, who followed Dave Mackay as a captain. Again, a proper man, didn't step back from anyone, never took a backward step against an opponent, and stood his corner and was a bloody good player to boot. So I had some good influences on me as captains, of course. And then someone like Pat Jennings, cool, calm, softly spoken Pat, who, no goalkeeper coaches in those days, as he said on that interview you mentioned earlier. And no moaning, got on with life, got on with his practices, nothing flash about him, didn't talk down to anyone, was one of the world's greatest goalkeepers.
Oh.
And but so humble. And then, that's something for you to look at. Or if you are humble yourself, you're thinking, well, I'm not doing too bad because Pat's that same type, So, but all players that were well led, Bill Nick led them. And he led me as well.
Well, unlike yourself or Pat Jennings, whose hair has never changed, whenever someone mentions like Gilly or Ralph Coates, I have to invoke a comb over to feel the power of them because, I've watched a fair bit of Spurs in the early 70s, and I mean I love watching Gilly play and Cyril Knowles as well, and it's a very exciting team. Very exciting team.
What a left foot. What a left foot.
Crazy.
Cyril.
So I've got
How did he not play for England more? Cyril Knowles.
No, I don't know. Well, there's question marks all over England's selection over the years, really, isn't there? So
you know the dressing room banter. So very, very sharp, I got to tell you. And one day, one player said to Ralph, have you been to the hairdressers? Yeah. He said, what do you ask for? Ralph mumbled some answer. He said, I think you asked for a short back and swoop.
But I've got the theory about the comb over is we know it's not fooling anyone, but the thing is when you lose your hair, just having a few strands, it feels nice.
Yeah.
So they're doing it for themselves.
Oh, it looks nice.
Oh, thanks. I'll do.
Trust me, looks good.
Some
more questions. Come on.
Yeah. So I've got a question from Jacob, who's he's a Spurs fan, runs a Spurs channel called United Spurs of America, and he's in El Paso, Texas, and he wanted me to ask you, what's your biggest memory? And I like the way he phrased this, from your 2 European Cup wins, and I like the way he says 2 European Cup games because Steve alone has won more European glory than Arsenal in all their history. So there you go.
Hi there. So I've answered this before, but I cannot turn away from AC Milan semi-final, first leg at home, 4th game in 6 days. And if you watch the highlights, if you tell me anyone's tired on that pitch, I'll have an argument with you. And we went a goal down to a lad called Benetti, who was called the Englishman as his nickname, because he was a tough midfield player. Put one in the top corner and must have been a great shot because Pat didn't even dive for it. And so it's game on, first leg. Italians, very difficult to play against, to score a goal against. And I ended up scoring 2 goals that night. So it was obviously my birthday as such, without being my birthday. But it was in terms of taking... I very rarely had 2 shots at goal, let alone scored 2 goals. And I did. So it was my night and didn't get us through, but it gave us the platform to go and get a draw in Milan in a very hostile atmosphere, full house. And Muller's scored a wonderful goal to put us a goal up and eased everyone's nerves a bit. And they eventually got a penalty that I got booked for, but didn't have anything to do with it. It was Philip Bill, but I got booked. Anyway, not that it cost me anything. And so we went through and got back to the dressing room and found out that instead of playing Ferencváros of Hungary, we were going to play Wolves.
How did that go down? Because I don't know, you sort of expect a glamour tie or something, and you're playing a team you play twice at least every year.
It was a little bit of a downer, actually. And, not so much us, but the wives. The wives have been promised that wherever we played, the club was going to pay for them to go and, do a bit of sightseeing and whatever. So... Guess what? Not too many of them wanted to go to Wolverhampton.
Well, Ferencváros are playing Borat's Banja Luka in a knockout for the European, for the UEFA Cup, I'll just call it that, because I've got friends over there and they want Tottenham to go over there and play because it's a small club and they'd love it. They'd love it. I mean, but just thought the bit about game managed before your second goal against AC Milan. there was a bit where there was an Italian and he wouldn't retreat from the ball, and it was, he's trying to time waste and muck around and
absolutely.
Would you? I mean, to me, looking at it, that was a part that led into your second goal that night. Would you say? Or?
Well, because they're lacking a player, and as a very good friend of mine described one night to a paying audience down in Exeter, that when we defend a corner, I've worked out 15 positions I wanna defend, and we've only got 11 players, so there's got to be 4 positions that we don't defend. Well, when you've only got 10 men, there's an extra position that you can't cover. The question from the audience was, why do you bring everyone back from a corner? And so Paul Tisdale, my friend, was explaining about this, you use as many players as you can because the point is you're defending a corner. So you're not waiting to go on the next attack. You're defending a corner. And of course, if we defend the corner and it comes out, it comes straight back, but then we have to defend that. So I would say that I was given a bit more room for the second goal because they only had 10 men on the pitch. And that's the problem with game management. I was never told in all my years as a Spurs player, as a 15-year-old or a 36-year-old, I was never told to waste time. I was never told to kick the ball to the corner flag. I was never told to kick the ball away from someone needing to take a free kick against us. I was never told to get at the referee. I was never told to kick that player out of the game because he's a good player and he could beat us. Do you know what? You put yourself up with your abilities against your opponent and you try your best and you concentrate on playing football and you concentrate on playing at tempo and moving the ball quick and moving your opponent around. And guess what? If we do that right, we should win. I think that's how Ange plays as well. You look how quick the goalkeeper uses the ball. Even when the ball goes out of play over his dead ball line, he runs to get it. He doesn't wait for the ball boy to throw it back to him. He runs to get it. That's someone who's got a purpose about the tempo that he's been told to play at. And I thank Ange for that, because I've seen so many games at White Hart Lane where the team opponents get a goal up and then waste time for their life. And the biggest time waster in the history of football is a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And referees, if they ever got a yellow card out for time wasting to the goalkeeper, they wait until the 87th minute. And actually, the goalkeeper's been wasting time for 30 minutes up to now. So do it earlier, will you, to stop it? That's where referees have not got a brain, I'm afraid.
There's another YouTuber, Chris Cowlin, and after it was last year, Sheffield United tried the whole time wasting thing. It didn't work out for them. So Chris, what he did was he walked up the high road ahead of the Sheffield United bus and just pushed every pedestrian crossing to waste their time on the way home. It was petty.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Oh, I got a question here from Lee Richards. He'd like to thank you for sticking with us when we got relegated in '77 and helped get us back up again. And he'd like to know your opinion of Terry Neal's time as a Spurs manager, who's never, obviously for his connections, generally popular, I guess, with Spurs fans, but Lisa, he made Steve the club. Is he right in saying that he made you the club captain and also kept what was a Spurs side that was struggling a bit? He kept them up for a bit longer than maybe they could have.
Hi, Lee. So, Terry Neal actually did my game a lot of good. So I actually have not got a bad word to say about Terry. Did he make me captain? In a way, he did, but Bill Nick started the process off by making me vice captain when Martin Peters failed a fitness test before Lynn Oslo in the early 70s. And he came in and he told the team, he named the team and he named me as captain. and I'm making Steve vice captain. So if Martin's ever injured again, I don't have to make that decision. Steve will be the captain. So, you know, when someone like Bill Nick gives you the armband, it's an honour anyway to captain Tottenham Hotspur. And by the way, in terms of staying on in relegation, I played 42 games out of 42 in our relegation year. So it must have had something to do with me. I was captain. I was an influence on the pitch, but not a big enough influence. To maybe cover some weaknesses in our team. But, and you know what? Tottenham Hotspur is my club. It's our club. It's your club, Lee. And I don't care who owns it. I really don't care who owns it. It's our club. They're just looking after it for us for a little while. So, Terry Neal came in on the back of Bill Nicholson slightly losing it with age and a bit of pressure, and the team was not functioning, and I'd become particularly sort of negative in my thoughts, and he opened up the game to me. And you know how he did it? In a very simple manner. In those days, the goalkeeper kicked the ball, and by Christ, Pat Jennings could kick it.
Could score as well.
Said, yeah, he did. And he said, Steve, run forward beyond the front players who should be challenging for the ball, Gilly and Martin, maybe not Gilly then, Martin Chivers was. But run on beyond, and I know I want you to do it 3 or 4 times a half. And I know that if the ball breaks back against us, that you will recover back as quick as anyone. So I'm trusting you to do that, but I just want to open your game up for you and think about forward movement. And by doing that, I think I scored 6 goals that year. And 6 goals was unheard of for me. I scored 1 goal per year for 17 seasons, but at least 1 goal. But it just got my head up and made me realize forward movement. And the game is about forward thinking, forward passing, forward movement, because that's actually what people pay for. And so I have no reason to criticize Terry Neal. In a way, because he was good for me. When Martin Peters eventually left, he did make me captain. I'd been truly disappointed if he hadn't done. And who knows? If I hadn't been captain when we got relegated, maybe we wouldn't have got relegated. But who knows? I wouldn't have had that extra feeling for the club that if the chance came, would I have taken it? I don't think so, but I don't know because it never happened. Good question, though.
I like this. This comment from Alan Bennett here, because this is a big memory I have of the '81 final. I mean, everyone remembers Ricky's goal, but it was your tackle, which I don't think it was a yellow on Jerry Gow that really sort of changed the momentum of that. So I'm just thinking, what led to that, and also what did Keith Hackett say to you about it? Was he just steady on, or?
Did I get a yellow for that?
He had a word with you, didn't he? Or
I think he had a word, but I don't think I got a
no
yellow.
Yellow. Okay, good. Well, he's a good. I think he was a good ref. He was a good ref.
I don't think so. I've done a couple of events with Keith. So very nice man, and actually a very good referee.
Yeah.
The problem with the first game was it was billed as the footballers against the workers. Man City had a struggle in the league. John Bond had signed a lot of players, workman-like players, to get them out of trouble, which he did, and also got them to the cup final. And it was going to be the flair against the work. Well, guess what? The work almost won it. And it was the fact that they clamped down on Ozzy and Glenn, particularly Jerry Gow, but all of the team clamped on us and didn't allow our flair players to perform. And luckily, we got away with the 1-1 draw. Glenn's in-off goal. And I'm thinking, how did I let Jerry Gow get away with that? So, of course, I was now looking for an extra chance to just let him know that I was there. And I think my job was to protect our talented players. Give them the ball. The more that Glenn Odo had the ball, the better team we were, of course. So if I could win it off any of their players and give it to Glenn, I would do. But to win it in a strong fashion was a moment for our team to think, yeah, we can play, but we can mix it as well. And of course, if you've got Roberts and Miller in your team, you can mix it. So Chrissy Hugh was the
he was the polite one, was he?
he was the smooth one. And Paul Miller used to say to left wingers, if there was like a break in play or an injury or whatever, he'd say to the left winger, you, well, get over the other wing, go and stand with Chrissy, have a little chat with him. The afternoon will just fly by and you won't get kicked.
Oh, dear.
If you stay this side, he's going to get you, or I'm going to get you, or we're both going to get you. So,
a quiet word. Well, we're nearly up at the hour, Steve. So I mean, thanks very much for your time. What do you got? Have you got anything coming up? I saw you did a podcast again the other week. Are you out and about the country or any trips around?
Started the podcast again with Howard and Tom. We're probably going to do it about once a month now, unless there's something really, really important happens during that month that Mr. Levy sells or whatever. Then we would like an opinion on that. So so happy to be back on that one. Had a little bit of a rest because as I said on the podcast, I was starting to get fed up with my own voice. I've got 2 talks just starting, and I tend not to do the talks because there's traveling involved in the school holidays, and the motorways here are absolutely jam-packed. Takes you twice as long to get to anywhere. So on Monday the 9th of September, I'm appearing in Whitstable in Kent, a pub called the Rose in Bloom, and I'm going to be with Ozzy Ardiles. So it's going to be a very, very funny night because Ozzy can only be funny. I'd like him to be a bit more serious sometimes when he's telling a story, but it's usually funny. And then on the Thursday of that week, the 12th of September, I'm talking on my own in Bushy. So if you need details on either of those, then get in touch and Paul will pass them on to me, of course. So I'll be happy to answer your queries. And I'll go into Dubai, speak to the Dubai Spurs in March. So I love traveling. I love it. I'm going to visit again up to northern Norway for the nature, but also for the cold and the snow, and take in what the locals are telling me, which is such a great life. They tell me the fish up there is so tasty. It's because the water's so cold. But imagine how it is in the wintertime. So yeah, enjoying life. Retirement is great. If you lot remember Phil Bill, God bless him, good player, Phil, homegrown as well. He's just had a second new hip, like I did. So he's now recovering. So we wish him all the best. And if I get a chance to visit him on one of my visits to Exeter, I'll pop in and see him and make sure he's recovering okay.
Wonderful. Well, Steve, on behalf of myself and all the fans out there, I mean, thanks for all the wonderful memories. They were fantastic times, and good health to you and your family for the future. Thank you very much.
I'm really sorry you had to get up so early.
No, I'm up. I don't know. It's the sun's up. Sun's up. I'm awake, man.
You've had breakfast. The sun's up, and you've got the day to look forward to.
That's it.
So we're now about 10ish here. So I'm going to be going to bed soon. So yeah, sweet dreams.
Thank you very much, Steve. Steve Perryman, the
Good
skipper.
luck.
Thank you.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. That's it. That's it. Thank you.
Go. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, troops. Bye-bye.